United we start. We explore the New World Order, finance, science, health and other subjects in our group discussions of activists, bloggers, authors and other leaders in the independent media to inform and educate listeners on various topics. Join us the second Saturday of the month at 10 to 12 a.m. Pacific Time, 18 to 20 hours GMT. Looking forward to meeting you. Hi everybody, this is Detlev here of Wake News Radio, Wake News TV from Switzerland, producing the show in our today's United We Start Roundtable discussion, which is utmost important. Today is the 13th of June 2020. Yeah, we have a split show today. The first hour you will hear Michael, Matt and myself. And in our second hour, we will have our special guest, Larry Pinkney, who will give his view on the situation in the U.S., particularly, which we are looking forward to. Okay, so let's see who's present. Matt, are you there?
Hey, Detlev, how you doing this morning? And Michael, thanks everyone for joining us on the United We Start Roundtable discussion. We have a lot to talk about today, and if I get fired up, you can understand why. There are forces trying to destroy America, my country, and I'm not happy about it. I just wanted to remind you, though, that my website, nwodor.com, NovemberWhiskeyOdor.com, ODOR.com, is where you'll find archives of my previous shows, which teach about how to stay healthy in this environment of the New World Order. You know, they're trying to exterminate 80 to 90% of the world's population. So staying healthy is our number one method of resisting that objective. You can see it coming with the forced vaccinations for COVID-19 or the China virus. And you can find the articles, the interview I did with Dr. Keith Moeller up there too. Scroll down just a little bit from the homepage and look for the interview on nanosilver. He describes all the safety studies and clinical trials that have proven its effectiveness against viruses and bacteria. And you've got to wonder why you find in places like Wikipedia, they try to demonize nanosilver. Well, it's because it's effective. So I would recommend you educate yourself so that you can take some action with nanosilver to help protect you and your family against whatever bugs that might come our way. But glad to be here on this Saturday. Looking forward to our discussion, especially the second hour with Larry Pinkney. I think it's going to be very enlightening, especially for our European audiences and our American friends as well, to hear from someone who was one of the original civil rights movement people in the early 60s or 70s or 60s. In the Black Panthers, and get his perspective of what's going on in America right now, because I think his is a lot more sane than what I'm seeing on the mainstream media. But anyway, glad to be here and looking forward to it.
Yeah, thanks, Matt. And lots of things are happening in the U.S., so we are looking forward to hearing from you after that. Michael, are you there?
Yes, greetings to everybody on this rainy day in Basel, Switzerland. And I'm looking forward to be part of that very inspiring conversation, which I'm sure we're going to have this evening about many issues, many concerning issues. I have a show every once a month on Wake News, and it's mostly in German, where I talk about the spiritual backgrounds and behind the scenery, behind the curtains of power, so to speak, about secret societies, about spiritual entities and these kind of things. And I will draw lines to the political events which stem all from that particular background. So I'm looking forward to be part of the show, and I pass on.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Michael. Just a reminder, please visit our website, UNITEDWESTART.org, and you will find also a chat room where you can post in and very easily check in as a guest. You will find this on our website under the UWS chat and schedule window. So, after the show, we will trying to be quick with our upload of podcast archives, also from this show. But sometimes it takes a little longer. There will be videos available as well. Okay, we are non-profit oriented, so we are not a commercial entity. We are doing this because we think it's definitely necessary. Okay. Yeah, so let's go on. I mean, we are experiencing turmoils all over the world, basically. Almost in all countries, at least those who are controlled by the New World Order. So, and especially in the U.S., we talked about this before we started the show. The U.S. is a very important area where things are heating up, especially the upcoming presidential elections are most probably also a reason for all this chaos which is happening. Maybe, Matt, you can give us a sort of a summary of things which are happening. Especially with, we will be talking about the subject in the second half of the show with Larry Pinkney. But nevertheless, please give us an update on what's happening in the U.S., Matt.
Right, sure. What's going on in the U.S. is pretty obscene right now, and it's hard for me to watch the agendas, the multiple agendas at work here, because we know, and I've been saying this for years and years, the New World Order's plan, part of it is to balkanize America, balkanize people from around the world. What I mean by that is to keep them separate and fighting amongst themselves. And if you keep fighting amongst yourself based on racial lines, religious lines, ethnic lines, political lines, you can never see the manipulators on the top of the puppet strings, and you'll never get a clue because you're such focused on that other person you literally hate because somebody told you to hate them. And that's what we're seeing in the United States. If you go back to our show last month, I described Machiavellianism, and just to give you a quick recap, it's say you're an entity and you want to control, two different parties while you instigate strife between party A and party B, and you control both sides so that they clash against each other, and they don't see that you're controlling both of them. Okay, so keep that in mind as we go through our discussion. But what's happening in America is pretty grotesque. It started with the death of a man in Minneapolis, Minnesota. His name was George Floyd, a black man, and a video surfaced of a cop putting his knee on George's neck for over 8 minutes, which then suffocated George. And he eventually died. And so that was seen as the white police singling out black men and killing them without cause. Okay, that's the narrative that they're pushing in the media here. Yes, that was absolutely uncalled for. The cop should never have done that. They have arrested him, and he'll have his day in court. Now, that's the way we work in America, or at least we used to work in America. We had a system called justice, where if you're accused of crimes, you get to spend time in front of a jury of your peers, usually 12 of them, and they decide your fate based on evidence of whether you're guilty of that crime or not. We used to have that in the United States, not anymore. Now we have mob justice. So it's not good enough that the cop was arrested and charged with his murder. It's that that just was used as a trigger then for a whole rash of violence across the United States. And I've posted in our chat room several videos, one by Candace Owens called "I Don't Support George Floyd," and another one by Millie Weaver, undercover investigator. The Minneapolis riots was pre-planned. And so, well, let's discuss who George Floyd was. He was a career criminal, and according to Candace Owens, and I've seen this statistics on other shows, so I kind of tend to believe that this is what his record was like. In 1998, George spent 10 months for theft with a firearm. That means he robbed somebody with a gun. 2002, he spent 8 months in prison for cocaine. In 2004, he spent 10 months in prison for another cocaine offense. In 2005, 10 months for a cocaine offense. And in 2007, he spent 5 years in prison. What did he do? Somebody went up to a lady's house, pretended to be a water department worker. And when the lady realized that the person posing as a water department worker wasn't really true, she tried to close the door, but the guy forced his way in, then pulls a vehicle with 5 people in it. George was one of them. George then, in the lady's living room, who was pregnant at the time, put a gun to her belly while the other guys ransacked the house. They couldn't find anything that they wanted. I'm guessing drugs and money. So they took her wallet and her cell phone, and he spent 5 years in prison. So he's been in and out of prison basically all his life, and they're trying to paint him up to be this, nun, or I guess monk. And anyway, they're trying to make him out to be some kind of a martyr here. So that was the trigger for all kinds of crazy events to take place in the United States, starting with protests. Well, I would agree with you that George losing his life through a cop kneeling on his neck was abhorrent. Okay, nobody should have to go through that from a cop. They're supposed to arrest you, take you to jail, and it's up to the jury, like I said, to determine your guilt or innocence. It's not up to the cop to determine your your guilt and execution. So your right to protest, I'm fine with that. You can protest all day long on cop use of deadly force, because I've seen it in America too, where a lot of cops are dirty cops. And they get away with, excessive use of force without much consequence, okay? So, yeah, fine. Protest all you want. But what these people did was they started rioting and looting, okay, and burning places down, which is not right, okay? Once you start doing that, then you lose my support, okay? You lose me there, because you're not allowed to injure someone else and their property. You cannot go into another person's business and take their inventory because it doesn't belong to you. That's a crime in itself. But here in America now, it's justified because they're angry. Okay, that's the way it's painted in the mainstream media. Burning down buildings, not a problem. It's part of their frustration, they say. Hurting other people, killing cops, not a problem, because it's part of their frustration. So what you have is total chaos and lawlessness in many large American cities, mostly Democrat-run cities, by the way. And this was not only tolerated, but in fact encouraged by the political establishment, mostly Democrats. Okay, and there's no right for anybody to do that in any society, any civil society, to loot, burn, and take what's not yours and hurt other people in a civil society. But now in America, everything's upside down. It's tolerated and if not, encouraged. And so it doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't make sense to me that these people would loot and burn down their own neighborhoods. It's pretty stupid, if you ask me. It's beyond stupid because they're burning down their own neighborhoods. It's like Detlev. If I got mad at you, if I'm mad at Detlev for something, anything, right? Maybe I don't like the sound of your toilet when it flushes. I'm going to burn down my house because of that. Now, how much sense does that make? It doesn't make sense at all, but that's what they're doing here in the United States. And there's evidence that Antifa and Black Lives Matter promoted violence. And go back to that one video I posted in our chat room from Millie Weaver, about how the riots were pre-planned. They were looking for a trigger. They were organizing years before this, right? Especially after Trump got elected. And so there are these organizations, and they seem to be like intelligence run, because they have intelligence type operations, really covert style planning, that this was pre-planned. They were just looking for a trigger. If it wasn't George Floyd, it would have been another trigger, but they were waiting for this to happen. And who knows, maybe that cop was paid off to do something like this because, they'll get him off in the end. They promised him that, yeah, we'll get you off. We're in charge. We'll control the judge, and we'll control the attorneys, and we'll get you off, and we'll start another set of riots over that, right? But there's so it's gotten to the point where this insanity has gone on for several weeks now in America. People out protesting all the time. Here in my state, Oregon, we have such a stupid governor, and she was so bent backwards. It's unbelievable how mentally retarded a person could be that got elected to be a governor and run a state. But here's what she's done. She's locked us down and extended the state of emergency till July 6th, which is after the Independence Day celebration we celebrate on July 4th, right? So she's taken away that holiday. She took away Memorial Day, where we celebrate those lives that were given in our wars by our military personnel in defense of this country and the Constitution. Well, she locked us down, but then we get these riots in Portland and across other towns or cities in Oregon, and when they're burning and looting, the downtown area, and they even got into the Justice Center in downtown Portland and started looting it, running off the cops. And she says, well, people have a right to protest. And then, you've got 10, 12,000 people out in the streets nightly doing this. But I can't go get my hair cut or go to a restaurant and eat at a bar? Really? 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 That's how crazy it is here. That's how crazy it is here. It's okay to not socially distance and get together with 10,000 other screaming people without masks and no social distancing, but I can't get my hair cut. That's how crazy it is here. Okay. But that's not the end of it. That's not the end of it. Now, we've got people in Seattle. They have taken over a 6 square block area in Capitol Hill. And I've been there. I spent, I've been there on a few occasions going to concerts or working. And I've been in that neighborhood, and it's typical Northwest kind of neighborhood in the city. They have rainbow colored crosswalks in the street to give you an idea of what this place is like. Well, it's now been taken over. It's called the Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone, or called CHAZ. And what they've done is set up their own independent country within the United States. And I've posted a link to a video from Tucker Carlson, where he explains what that actually is. But so there are a bunch of these white kids, mainly white kids, and some other minorities in there. What they've done is chased out the cops from the 5th Precinct of Seattle and taken that over, and they've barricaded off their area, their domain, and are not allowing cops into that area. They have armed guards standing at the entry locations, and they've set up this independent country within the city of Seattle. And more madness. Instead of kicking these people out, because it is unlawful to seize other people's property, especially within the city, and given a police station on top of that, the mayor says, well, it's kind of like a street party. Jenny Durkins, I don't know how she thinks that this is going to get her reelected as mayor, but allowing armed thugs to take over your city is not real good politics in my estimation. But she's allowing this to happen. And this autonomous people are so autonomous that they get online asking for stuff like guns, cigarettes, ice, Gatorade, water, and food. I don't know how autonomous you are, but you can call yourself when you go begging for people to give you food. Maybe that's what they're used to. And this seems normal to them. But that's the craziness we have in the United States. And you have people on like these Black Matters types that are fostering this idea that only Black lives matter. Like, okay, before you start calling me a racist, okay, know this: I am not white, neither am I Black. Okay, so you stop right there. So I'm trying to be as objective as I can here. Okay, so what I'm seeing here is that these people that support Black Lives Matters are now defacing and tearing down monuments to our history. And I've said this before. If you erase a people's history, they have no organizational idea of where they came from, so they cannot unite under a common cause because they have no common belief system built from that history. So what they're doing is tearing down Confederate monuments. And if for those of you in Europe, we had a civil war here, the South versus the North, North being Union, South being Confederates. It was about states' rights, but it was morphed into slavery, basically. But the states wanted to control their own, what happens within their own borders. But the federal government that was in Washington said, no, you can't. We ruled you. And then they eventually won. Well, the Confederates are now the bad guys. and since the narrative changed from states' rights to slavery being the issue, Confederates are now demonized within our society based on our new wokeness to Black Lives Matter. So they're trying to erase our history. And ironies of ironies, and Larry will tell you this, they tore down a statue of a Black Union soldier, somebody who fought for the right side to win freedom for Black slaves, who himself was Black, was memorialized, but they tore down his statue anyway. I mean, this is how dumb these people are. This is how retarded these people are. And to make even things worse, they're trying to impose this on our culture of people who are Caucasian being guilty. They call it white privilege of racism just for being white. That is wrong. That is totally wrong. I saw this video, and this is out there, of a Black Lives Matter person confronting a white woman, and I don't know what she was out there doing, like cleaning up after a riot or something, but the video where I saw it picks up where he demands that she kneels down. So she kneels down and she says, now you apologize. And she couldn't come up with the words to apologize to him for. And because she didn't know what she needs to apologize for. Well, what he was demanding that she apologize for being white. Now, that is absolutely wrong. You cannot do that in a civil society where a person who has to apologize and feel guilty for being born a certain color. But that's this insanity we have going on in the United States now. And it's being pushed from the very top of the political spectrum, from Pelosi to Joe Biden and all the other Democrats and the do-nothing Republicans. Now, I mean, that that the Republicans are pushing this, but they're not fighting back either. So it tells you that they are controlled by other figures above their pay grade in order to foment this destruction of America, because above their pay grade are the people who actually rule the world, like the Brits, okay, the Queen, the Rothschilds, okay, and the royal families of England, of Europe. They're the real rulers of the world, and above them there's another layer, but we don't go there. And they hate America ever since America peeled away from King George. They've hated America. That's why they helped fund the war. I mean, they tried the War of 1812 to try to win America back, and then they finally won in 1913 of establishing the Federal Reserve, but now they still want to destroy America. So they're using these political activities and the COVID-19 as a way to destroy her, which is very troubling. And that's what we have going on in the United States.
Wow, yeah, it's a drag. I mean, but many of the issues are taking place everywhere. I mean, not to the extent between the races, as Europe is not yet that much race oriented, because the so-called blacks or so are not there. I mean, not in numbers really yet. But they're, the few behind the curtains, they are trying everything to get, other races and from other cultural regions here into Europe as well. Michael, what's your point of view to that?
Well, I think all these things can only happen because people identify with their physical body. I think of myself and what basically human beings are. They are souls and spirits. And if you identify with your soul and your spirit, you never think that you're black and white. It's like I wear a red shirt and a yellow shirt. I have this white body. I didn't do anything for it. So that's the fact. I have to live with it. And to make an issue out of it, it's clearly there to destroy independent analytic thinking. And that is the main perspective of the ruling class, of the cabal, to play their divide et impera, their divide and conquer game, in order to rule independently and undisturbed and fool the people, enslave the people. That is the part of the game. So this whole Corona scam didn't work out to the degree that they envisioned. And now they play this other Trump card, this racial card. And to me, it's stage subsidized mumpets, basically. And I think people should be mature enough to realize that these games are being played. For me, it was clear when this Corona scam started. There is no coronavirus. It's all a scam. It's a blown up story. And the same thing here. It's a staged event. And I actually have to question whether this fellow really died and whether this video is authentic or whether it has been compromised. I'm not sure. I placed that question on the round table to be maybe further discussed. And I think this will all lead into nonsense. It's actually to stop, I repeat myself, but it's to stop that clear human consciousness, that analytic thinking. What happened? What are the scientific kind of analysis of it? and what is the major goal. So they don't want people to think straight, basically. And that's just another story. If this doesn't work, they come up with something else. So that's maybe another epitome, another plandemy, or whatever. I don't know what is in their agenda. So that's my take of it.
Agenda is extermination of 80 to 90% of the world's population, global government control via one government system and one monetary system. I
agree. There you're correct. But I don't think they'll succeed, because there's some wacky people around. And as we saw with the Corona story, it didn't work out. And I hope same thing will happen with the racial card, and people will get their sanity back and act as human beings that live together, that discuss things in calmness, and they can work things out in solidarity. That is my wish and hope I have in that particular issue, Matt.
Amen. But boy, are we up against it, because social media is now the dominant means of information input to the individual, okay? Never mind all the tracking that's done. I mean, they can track you and identify you at will because of your cell phone. You have your unique phone number. We can uniquely track you based on your location and pings on cell towers. That said, the ultimate goal is to destroy America. They have to destroy America, and they have to push harder now because of Trump. It really made them mad when Trump was elected, because it went against all their plans. And so I think this real push now is part of it to delegitimize Trump so he doesn't get reelected. I'm with you. I'm hoping between now and November, there's time enough for people to wake up. The media would have us believe that the bulk of the country reflects what's being shown to us on our TVs. These idiots in the streets screaming Black Lives Matter. And it's dumb, too, because all lives matter. Not just because you're black means you're a more preferred race and you should be singled out as being more protected. No, that's not right. This is America. Everybody is an individual, and everybody is considered sovereign under the law. Okay, so all lives matter. But if you say that in the United States now, if you say all lives matter, you are deemed a racist. Why? So that you shut up. So you cannot oppose their point of view because we're going to assert that you are this bad person for not agreeing with them. And so between now and November, I'm hoping that this insanity is not engendered or fostered in the rural parts of America outside of the major cities, which are population capitals, but the rest of America will see that this is insane and vote to keep insanity, law, and order. They're calling for not only defunding police, which they just passed a bill in the New York Senate this morning. I forget how many billion there was going to take away from the cops, but they want to create chaos in the streets. They want to eliminate the public, the police forces around America, or neuter them so that law and order is removed from our society. And once they get your guns away from you, you have no way of protecting yourself, and chaos reigns. And so you have the a dissolution of America. Hopefully, people will get past that between now and November, and the Democrats, with all their dirty tricks and election rigging, can't overcome the overwhelming support that Americans have for America, and this idiocy, this real idiocy, will not win. But I'm afraid, because of social media, this message that everybody wants to be a part of. They work on people's guilt, right? They work on people's guilt and emotion. And when you're scared of something, you're easily controlled. If you misbehave and sin, you're going to go to hell and burn forever, and your soul will just be on fire for the rest of eternity. That's fear. That's controlling. Well, because you're a racist, you don't want to be a racist. You have to agree with all this nonsense. So they're playing on people's guilt and emotion, and hopefully at some point that wears off. But I'm afraid with the social media, it's going to be a tough battle.
Yeah, but Matt, where is the voice of rational, sane human people that, based on a humanist kind of background, that open their voice and say something and question the whole paradigms?
Well, they're not on social media in the United States. I can tell you that much. People like that are removed rather promptly. I mean, you can't. Okay, social media is so powerful in the United States, and I put this article in our chat room. So powerful in the United States that you don't have to be a citizen of America to lose your job in America for something that was tweeted out. And you don't even have to tweet it out yourself, but because the person is associated with you, you will lose your job. That's how powerful social media is. Well, I'll give you this example, and I posted it in our chat room if you want to go look. LA Galaxy releases soccer player after wife's racist and violent social media posts. Get this. It was in Serbian. They didn't like her freedom of speech. So what they do? They went after him, a Major League Soccer player from Los Angeles, and booted him off the team because of her comments. That's how insane it is in the United States. But that is how they're using social media to control how people think. You can't even put anything out there that is near controversial or against their dogma and before they boot you. So the people with sane minds pointing out principles of humanity and common sense, you're not going to find them on social media. I can guarantee you that.
Is there any resistance against this insanity? I mean, I would say some people should voice their opinion on this insanity. Say, okay, we can discuss the issues, but not on this nonsense level.
You're speaking to one of them.
Yeah, that's great, but where are your brothers?
Where is it? Yeah, where's the organization that's going to do that? There's voices out in the wilderness like Candace Owens, myself. There's Alex. There's some ones on the radio here in the Northwest where I live on the radio that try to bring sanity to this, but they're not in the major markets. The one person in the whole United States that is sane, that tells the truth, is Tucker Carlson on Fox News. And I like that guy because he is so funny. He is so humorous. But he tells the truth, and he reports things matter-of-factly. Well, no, actually, he throws in a little commentary there, but it's funny. And he shows the hypocrisy, the idiocy of all of this. So that's one bright spot. I keep coming back to Tucker Carlson, but he's one bright spot, and more people should watch him. I think more people should share his videos if they work on YouTube, which they a lot of times don't because, well, he's being censored. He's telling the truth. Outside of that, not many voices there, Michael.
Yeah, and it's also very strange that people don't realize that all or the few which are regulating everything behind the curtains, unseen mostly by the majority of people, they are all white. I just got a photograph here from someone who sent a group photo of some of the people who are now in charge of the COVID-19 scam, as well as the Black Lives Matters and Antifa finance. So that's, for instance, Ted Turner, George Soros, Anthony Fauci, Bill Gates Sr. He was the lawyer of David Rockefeller. Did you know that?
I didn't know that.
Yeah. And, and other fellows. Yeah. So they are working together behind the curtains. They are all white. Even Rothschild is white. I mean, there may be some blacks in there because they were screwing around all over the world. But, most of those who are giving the tone, they are all white. So it's a scam. Everybody should identify this. But even those guys at or people at Black Lives Matter, even if they would go out in in the best beliefs and the best wills and fight for blacks' rights and so forth, they should realize that everything is being steered by a few. Okay, if they don't know that, they will never succeed because they're fighting for the wrong cause. I mean, we all know that, but that's the way it goes. And the biggest crime is the money system, and it's in the Federal Reserve and things like that. That should be first point to fight for, to abolish this. But people just don't get it.
Well, you're right. Sorry.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
They are influenced by the media propaganda. Go ahead.
Yeah, but the cabal is known to organize shadow fights,
Sure. I mean, their point of view is clear, but the people on the streets or in the streets, they should realize that they're after the wrong thing.
Right. You have to look at the monetary system, and that's what I referred to earlier in my comments, is that the Brits attacked America based on the monetary system at every point until we got the Federal Reserve System. And why is that important? For those who aren't familiar, the Federal Reserve banking system is not a part of the United States government. You could call it the Bank of Burger King for all intents and purposes, and it have the same function. We borrow money from the Federal Reserve, and then the federal government gives it to us, and then we pay taxes back to the Federal Reserve on interest. So you can never pay off that debt, because for every dollar you borrow from the Bank of Burger King, you owe them 5 French fries. So you can never have enough French fries to pay back Burger King. And that's the scam. And that's how they use the control of money as a medium to enslave us. And as long as they can keep us, focused on things like Confederate flags, and how that is such a nasty thing in our society anymore, you don't look at who's actually calling the shots and directing your slavery, just like Detlev said. Did I lose you guys? You must be on mute.
Yes, I sorry, I was unmuted. Sorry, yeah, you're absolutely right. That's what we have to further communicate, and there are not many mass media supporting this, but there is a lot of information still available on platforms like video platforms like YouTube or BitChute and Bright On, which is growing now, and in the internet. But they are trying to control this as well. They are controlling the information.
Yeah, one other source I think is InfoWars owned is a Band.video, which has some good videos on it. In fact, that one report from, what was her name? Millie. Oh, I can't find her name right now. But anyway, that one report by her, and I put another link in for a interview, actually 2 links for an interview with a nurse from New York, or she worked in New York. Okay, and she identifies how in this hospital, and she called it like a third world hospital, which is supposed to be the premier hospital in New York. They were putting COVID positive patients in with COVID negative patients, and COVID negative patients on ventilators when they need to, basically killing these people off in order to get the money that they wanted from the federal government based on each death. So it served two purposes: increase the death count and enrich the hospital. You have to go see it. It's up there. She was from Florida, and she went up there to work for a while, and so there's two versions. One, the full version I put in there in the link in the chat room, and an edited version. But it's shocking. Go see for yourself. These people were murdered by the medical system, and it was Millie Weaver, and she was the one that on Band.video that showed that these Democrat-run organizations were planning a rioting and all this previous to George Floyd. George Floyd was used as the trigger, and it wasn't the cause.
Yeah, absolutely. And there are even disputes whether this was a Photoshop, so that he may not even have been murdered. But, this is speculation. I don't know whether this is true or not.
True or not, the effect is the same.
Yeah, the effect is the same. Well, nevertheless, I would just think we should be looking forward to Larry Pinkney's point of view, because especially what he thinks about the Black Lives Matters organization and so forth. But I know we had him on our shows on United We Strike, by the way,
right.
Larry Pinkney, years ago, and he was always trying to be for everybody. Everybody's life matters. I mean, obviously
right.
there are differences in terms of races, unfortunately, but all lives matter, and this has always been his stance. I remember, but nevertheless.
The danger is if we get involved in these kind of discussion, how many, like in the corona case, how many percentage of the population, what is the virus now doing? We are sidetracked, basically, because we have to discuss whether a new life form is possible, whether new social structures are possible, whether we can live without a government, whether, we can be positive anarchists according to the cosmic laws. And these are things, whether we can live without money. These are things to be discussed, and they don't like us to discuss these issues. They hate it, like anything, like the Satan is fearing the holy water, basically.
Well, if you could live without their monetary system, then what power would they have over you? Of course, they're going to fight to save that.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
So in Europe, are you seeing like Black Lives Matter movements there?
Yes, but it's also organized by money lenders like George Soros. I mean, George Soros also is only a handler, distributing money by the Rothschilds and Rockefellers, who went together as a family united. So it's the banksters who are behind this Black Lives Matters and other organizations, Antifa. We will be talking possibly in the next hour about this organization as well with Larry. So, these are all groups. Basically, they say Antifa is a communist movement. It's Antifa means anti-fascism. But they are not anti-fascist; they are fascist.
I know it's Orwellian, isn't it?
Yes, it's amazing, isn't it? Because they are being paid. They are being paid by those who are controlling the governments with their money, and you call this fascism. That's the way it is.
I think they're intelligence funded because
yes.
Project Veritas released last week, I believe it was, and this is when you started to see the violent protests kind of wind down, the rioting kind of wind down, because they were finding bricks pre-staged and rocks pre-staged and bottles pre-staged in all these American cities. Who's funding that kind of organization, right? So Project Veritas released this undercover video of Rose City Antifa. And the guy who was teaching a room full of other white kids, he looked to me like a military type. Okay, I couldn't tell if it was American or not. He spoke rather fluent American, but the way he sounded, the way he looked, really let me think. Led me to believe he was a military type, and the types of things that we're saying was you need to destroy your enemy or destroy your opposition, gouge out their eyes, and take violent actions and this and that. And it really seemed to me like it was an intelligence operation. If I were going to go into a country and disrupt it, like say, Venezuela, and just decide, well, Juan Guaido is the new president, and I was going to disrupt their society by undermining them with, these so-called protesters, I would do the same kind of thing, right? So, to me, when I've said this, and I said this last month, and I say it again, the intelligence agencies are the operational arm of the New World Order. They function as a united group. The British really control everything, but the British control Canada, New Zealand, Australia, right? All their intelligence, they're all kind of linked that way because they all, they come from the same system. Now, America is under that umbrella, and so they all work together, and you kind of nudge in the Israelis in the corner there, and they all work on this under this umbrella to carry out the plans of the New World Order. That's creating civil wars in places like Syria by funding and arming and training Al Qaeda. Then, that goes bankrupt. So you train another group and call them ISIS. Okay, you do that and pretend there's a civil war in Syria. You do that sort of thing, and then so you come to America. You have what they call controlled opposition, and you create groups like Antifa and Black Lives Matter to disrupt America, to destroy it from within, so that you fight amongst each other based on your skin color versus who's actually holding you oppressed in the first place. You've got these foolish idiots like this quarterback from the San Francisco 49ers. He kneels during the national anthem, which is an insult to all the people who served under that flag, including myself and all the people that died for that flag, giving him the opportunity in no other country. Is one of the best countries in the world where you can succeed, not based on your color, but the merit of your actions, right? So this guy, claiming to be oppressed, is making $17 million a year, and kneeling for the national anthem, insulting everybody who in history that has paid the price for his ability to do that. And that's how insane it is. Now, if you object to people kneeling for the flag, you're a racist. Now, supporting the flag of the United States and its national anthem is racist. Okay, based on the idiocy pushed by these George Soros funded type agendas from Black Lives Matter and Antifa.
Absolutely, and don't forget this kneeling is a psyop. It's a Freemason move. It's part of their Freemasonry symbolic actions.
Submission to someone else.
Yes. So
we're in America. We're not submissive to anyone because we're all considered sovereign under the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. But we forget that now because it's fashionable to hate yourself because of your skin color.
Yeah, but same with Corona scam. You had the mask. You were forced to put on the mask, and on top of it, social distancing. That is a black magical rights. These are black magical ceremonial rights, basically.
Well, probably.
So they try to put that on so people don't realize it, that they're actively or passively performing. I would say passively performing these black magical rights.
Well, it's to show your submission to their agenda. Basically, that's what you're bowing to.
Yeah, absolutely.
When the mobs were facing off against the police in multiple cities, yelling at them to kneel before them, and the cops did. They knelt before the mob. It showed you, and as Tucker Carlson rightly pointed out, that the mob is in control.
Yeah, possibly, yes. Yeah, but those people behind the curtains are always the same, at least out of the same families. So, it's the same thing what they did and still do with the Germans. The Germans are guilty of, First World War and second part of the World War, which is called Second World War. And, but it's proven that there have been other interests behind that,
Well,
Hitler
banking
was
interest.
financed. Yeah, Hitler has bbeen financed by Rothschilds and Rockefellers,
Right.
and the British, had a deal, most probably with Hitler. So people think, and there are books written about it, that Hitler actually was an agent of the British Crown, and so forth. I mean, it's all a scam, and we have to look behind the curtains.
Well,
Yeah, even the hereditary line of Hitler has some connection to the Rothschilds.
right. Well, David Icke points to the fact that there might be other off-worldly interests controlling them. And I go back to Bill Bramley's book all the time, William Bramley's The Gods of Eden. In fact, I just got a brand new copy. I'm going to reread it over this next week here. But he identifies that a lot of the catastrophes in the world have had apparently off-world influences. Okay, and I will leave it at that. But if you buy that theory, then this whole bigger picture starts falling into place a lot better for you. So just kind of keep that in mind.
Yeah, that's correct. I mean, whether you call these beings, they're always there. We're in the spiritual battles, and some of the beings are physically incarnated, and some are not, and they all have their own agenda. What the Ahriman or Satan wants is to start another universe, a parallel universe of where human beings are used as their energy is being used, but without having any freedom. Basically, that's hell on earth, and they want to create hell on earth.
How is that not different from what we have now?
Well, I think that you can expand on that one. I would say that it's going in that direction, but if you know what I mean, we are still in the situation in between the two polarities. You can also create heaven.
If you're saying we're in a spiritual war, you got a lot of people on your side, Michael.
Yeah, that's what it is, basically. As that, we have to realize that we're in a spiritual war. And, the same thing what happened with the Catholic Church, that same monster, that same dragon that entered into something which was actually holy and saintly and is supposed to represent God on earth, that was attacked by the dragon, by these Ahriman, and he put it on his side, basically. And he manipulated and he infiltrated it and made it his tool, unfortunately. That's what happens. And same happens with the governments and states and all over the world, basically.
So we are heading towards the top of the hour, and we will have a musical break. And during this break, we are trying to get Larry in. And then the second half of the hour, or the second half of the show of today, we will have our special guest, Larry Pinkney, with us. And so please stay tuned. We will definitely go into the matter again, what is happening in the US. So stay tuned. We'll be right back. Okay.
Join United We Start, a group discussion of activists, bloggers, authors, and other leaders in the independent media to inform and educate listeners in various topics. Join us every second Saturday of the month at 10 to 12 a.m. Pacific time, which is 18 to 20 hours GMT. Join us. We're looking forward to meeting you.
sleeping, something evil came a-creeping. Now it's hard to know exactly who to trust. It was 1913 on a Christmas day. Congress gave away its right to create cash. Now your money's only worth just what the bankers say, and you can lose your only shirt in just a flash. You see, the Federal Reserve is not a government thing. It's a bunch of private bankers we obey. And they don't answer to the people 'cause they pull the strings. And that's precisely why we have to say, hey, 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 the Fed. Now, not too long ago, there was a president who tried. He was about to stick it to the lousy Fed. He made some legal tender, silver-backed in all its splendor. It's unfortunate he ended up dead. Clinton, Bush, Barack Obama, Carter, Reagan, and McCain. We argue who's the best until we drop. But whoever is elected, it all comes out the same till we see that it's the Fed we need to stop. Hey, 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 the Fed. Hey, 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 the Fed. We need a president with balls, no matter white or black or female. Someone more than just another talking head. They have to stand up for our rights. They better read the Constitution when they hear the people cry, the Fed. So tell your children's children, if we're still around, to tell how depressions were created by a few. How the people lived and suffered while the candidates debated till the people knew exactly what to do. Yeah. Hey, 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 the Fed. Hey, 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 the Fed.
Thank you, everyone, for tuning back into the United We Start Radio Roundtable. It is Saturday, June 13, 2020. I am Matt Navarro, one of your hosts today, a fellow member of the UNITEDWESTART.org. We have online with us Detlev from Switzerland and Michael from Switzerland and wakenews.com. And this hour, we'll continue our discussion about the events in America and where we're going with our very special guest. And we've had him on our shows when we had United We Strike, and he was his voice is always cogent and sane, and that's why I like him. And a little optimistic, which I think we kind of need at this point. I'd like to welcome to the show Larry Pinkney, one of the original Black Panthers. Larry, welcome.
Thank you so very, very much. I'm honored. It's delightful. And let's move on. I'm thank you so much for having me.
Well, we are honored that you would join us and help spread your perspective, because I think in our chat the other day, you really have some clarity about this, and coming from a Black man, that kind of clarity is needed in this time. So for our folks who aren't familiar with you, Larry, can you give us a 1 minute or two bio of who you are, where you came from?
Sure. Sometimes I wonder where I came from. Anyway, no, look, thank you so much. I am a former member of the original Black Panther Party, not to be confused with these lunatics out here, these frauds calling themselves the New Black Panther Party. I'm also a former regional minister of Interior for the Republic of New Africa. I am a former university instructor, political science and international relations. And I'm not going to go on. I'll just say this. I am also the only, and I repeat, the only U.S. citizen and Black Panther Party veteran who has ever successfully self-authored a case to the United Nations. Not that I'm big on the UN, but it shows what we ordinary everyday people can do. So I'm going to leave it at that. There, I could go on and on and on, but I hope that that's enough.
Well, yeah, thank you for that. And I know you've done a lot in your lifetime, and you know, it's inspiring to have people like you talk to us because you've been there, you are there, you know, fighting for what's right in our society, and you're not just basing it on your skin color. And we should all appreciate that at this point. So what we've been talking about, Larry, is this horrible death of George Floyd, who wasn't an angel, but he didn't deserve to be killed in the fashion that he was. He should have gone to court and had his day in court. It was not up to that cop to be his executioner. Now, so people are angry, but in our nation, it used to work that we had a system of justice. Now the cop has been arrested. He's been charged with his murder, and now you've got all this chaos rioting in the United States. From your perspective, I don't know. You take it from there. What is your perspective about how this occurred, what occurred, and where it's going, or how it's being handled?
There is no question, my brother, that the circumstances surrounding the death of George Floyd, okay, are inexcusable and unacceptable. There's no question about that, all right? But the bottom line is we're not talking about Martin Luther King Jr., we're not talking about Malcolm X, we're not talking about Harriet Tubman, and we're not talking about Emmett Till. All of us at any time in our lives could be statistics, whether it's a statistic of a cop killing us, or more often than not with blacks, it would be another black killing another black. All right, let's be honest. All right. Now, what I'm saying is that I have to look at this for what it really is. I don't like the fact that primarily the Democrat Party, who, by the way, are sticking true to their Jim Crow lynching roots. I don't like the fact that primarily, I'm not saying only, but I'm saying primarily, the Democrat Party are a bunch of parasitic political pimps who are pimping the pain of the people. All people, black, white, brown, red, yellow, all people. This has got to stop, all right? For over 40 years, I and many others have been saying that this is a systemic problem. It's not just race. It's far deeper than so-called race or color, far deeper than that. And we need to be honest with ourselves. And you know, I see these folks out here who call themselves demonstrators, who call themselves protesters. And I have no doubt that some of them at least have very good hearts. But this is my message to them. Crack a book. Read, study, find out your history, our history, okay? Understand when you're being set up, when you're being manipulated, or as Malcolm would say, hoodwinked and bamboozled. Understand that, but you can't do that unless you crack some books and read and study, okay? History is a signpost not only of the past, but also of the present and the future. And unfortunately, most of these folks out there that I see have no clue, really. They are just following the herd mentality. No, this is not acceptable. So, again, I repeat, I'm no disrespect of George Floyd, quote unquote, but do you think attacking senior citizens in their homes, burning down buildings? Do you think that wiping out so-called minority, quote unquote, businesses? Do you think that attacking disabled people, that was done for George Floyd? Get a grip. No, that had nothing to do with George Floyd. That had to do with a bunch of egotistical, arrogant, ignorant lunatics, maniacs out there who are trying to, in my humble opinion, take advantage of a situation. So I'm going to leave it at that. I get very passionate about this because I've been around for a few years, and one would hope that people would learn from history. Otherwise, of course, it repeats itself.
Well, we were talking earlier about how they're trying to destroy our history by removing our monuments, by defacing our monuments. And you told me the story about that one Union soldier who was black and they destroyed his statue.
In Virginia.
Okay. They want to destroy our history because without a history, you can't unite as a people because you don't know who you are.
Exactly. Exactly, my brother. And this is what the game plan is. Keep people ignorant, hoodwinked, bamboozled, and angry at each other, and you can control and manipulate them. We must not allow this. We must not allow this. And, it's up to us. And there are millions of us out there. I know sometimes all of us feel a little bit lonely, but don't be. We're not alone. People are waking up like you would not believe. Even Democrats or former Democrats are going, wait a minute, this has gone too far. This is not acceptable. This is insane. And it is. And we must choose to not be a part of the insanity, but rather to be a part of pragmatism and vision. And I happen to be a strong believer in the Union, in the Republic. All right? Does that mean that the Union or the Republic is perfect? By no means. But it does mean, as Abraham Lincoln, who a lot of people think was a Democrat, he wasn't, he was a Republican. And I'm not pushing the Republican thing. Let me be clear. I'm an independent, but I do support the current president. I do. And if anybody wants to ask me why, I'll deal with that later. But the fact is I feel about him as Frederick Douglass felt about Lincoln. All right? Neither one of them were perfect. Now, let me get back to what I was saying. The fact of the matter is that we need to, first of all, know ourselves, know our history. I say our history. I get so upset when I hear people talk about black history, white history, yellow history, brown history, red history. Excuse me. This is our history. Our history. I'm a black man, but my grandmother was also indigenous native. Her history is my history. All of Americans' history is my history, meaning our history. We need to get a grip on things. And, the media, in my humble opinion, is actually nothing more than a new world order, deep state, globalist propaganda arm that would make Goebbels of the Third Reich green with envy. So I'll stop right there.
Detlev?
Yes, you are absolutely right. I mean, it's such a shame, and it basically all people are guilty of not being aware and not being educated. But even if you are educated, you still have to have the will to make it transparent, to fight for something like freedom, like humankind. But if you don't do that, if you just consume and just rely on security instead of freedom, then you are being a fool. I mean, you are lost then. And even those who are now going on the streets, I mean, like Black Lives Matters or Antifa, they will suffer themselves one day under the same regime.
That is correct. You're absolutely correct. And the fact of the matter is that Black Lives Matter. You know what? I think Black Lives Matter in the context of all lives that matter. How can
Agreed.
I say that? How can I say that Black Lives Matter as if they are only, we the only human beings on this planet? Excuse me? We have black, white, brown, red, yellow. You know, we might even have an odd shade of turquoise. I don't know. But the fact of the matter is that my life is as important as all my brothers and sisters' lives. And I find that whole concept of where they're telling people, white people in particular, telling white people, get down on your knees. And I'm saying, what? That's obscene. It's disgusting. You know, I was in Geneva, Switzerland, to attend a gathering in my honor. This was years ago, back in '88, having won a UN ruling. All right. And I said then, that was many years ago, and I say now that all lives matter. And I'm going to say it, and they can, you know what? And they can call you a racist, but the more they call you a racist, the more hypocritical and despicable and arrogant that they are. And I'm sick and tired of seeing blacks and whites, as Brother Malcolm said, and I met Malcolm in 1961 at Morgan State, then Morgan State College, now Morgan State University, Baltimore, Maryland. But as Malcolm said, don't get hoodwinked and bamboozled. Evolve. Malcolm evolved. And after all these years, you think our brothers and sisters would be evolving. But the deep state, globalist, New World Order media has done everything it can to dumb us down. We must not accept that. And I have a positive note. I'm telling you, from the brothers and sisters of all colors that I've met, people are waking up. You're not alone. We're not alone. They want us to think we're alone, but we're not.
Yeah, you're right about the dominant. Go ahead, Michael.
Yeah, hi, Larry. This is me, Michael from Switzerland. I like your attitude. I like the word bamboozled. That's really a nice wording. But anyhow, I think that if we were not less materialists in this world, that we would look at the maturity of the soul. I don't ever see somebody as yellow or black or brown or whatever. I look at the maturity of the soul. How is their feeling? And I would know that they have a astral body, that they have a emotional body, a soul and a spirit, basically. And that's what I look. What is when I confront somebody, if I meet somebody, I look at that. How mature is the soul, and how is mature is their consciousness? And that's the only kind of criteria which I use. I don't see any black person. I don't see any white person. I look at that only, and I look at myself as if I have this white body. I didn't do anything to it. It just happened. And I think if as a soul, as a spirit, I incarnated like I put on a red shirt or a yellow shirt, basically. That's all that is to me. For me, there is no racism. I think the cabal uses that as basically as a means, as a tool to divide and conquer, to divide et impera, as they say, and secure their rule by it. That is the point. But what we have to do is we have to stand together and tell those bastards that we are not being divided and we are not being ruled. We can think for ourselves. God has given us a straight thought. We can clearly think and differentiate and know what is what, and we know what is good and what is evil, and we can confront them. And that's what we have to do, according to my opinion.
You are absolutely, with all due respect, I believe you are absolutely correct. And I believe you simply, very eloquently, brother, summed up the words of the late Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., who said, how do we deal with people? We deal with them based on what? The content of their character, not the color of their skin. So all power to the people. I thank you, brother.
Amen. Yeah, you're right about the controlling aspect of the media. We were talking about that earlier, and I gave the example of how social media is part of that control system now, not just what you see on the TV or hear on the radio or read in the paper, which no one does anymore, but social media is a controlling factor in how people think anymore. And I gave the example of that soccer player from L.A. who was fired from his job, not because of what he said on social media, but because of what his wife said in social media. And she said it in Serbian, no less. He didn't even know she had posted it, but he got fired from his job anyway because his wife had non-approved thinking on her part.
I
Is that
shouldn't
crazy?
laugh. I shouldn't laugh because it's really not funny, but you know it's really sick, disgusting. But it's sort of like I laugh because I think of, I don't know how old you guys are, but back in the day I used to listen to Richard Pryor a lot, and a bunch of but Richard would say things, Pryor would say things that were so, oh my God, you go, oh, don't say that. But it was true. So you had to laugh, as horrible as it was. And so I mean no disrespect by laughing. You know, and I hope you know that. It's your point is well made and well taken. This is why we have to pull ourselves back from this precipice, this cliff that we are on. And we can do it. Actually, we can do it quite quickly. The New World Order, deep state, globalists are panicking. Why? Because people are waking up. So they're going to use everything they can. You know, excuse me, I don't care if someone says something that offends me, I have the ability to either respond to them, to ignore them, or to block them, or all three. It's like, grow up. Grow up. Stop being manipulated. And you know, I had not rather heard about this particular case. So that's very interesting, what you just were telling us about.
Yeah, well, it's unfortunately the truth, though. I find it humorous in a sort of way, too, because of the insanity of this whole situation. I'm hopeful, like you, that we turn this around in a hurry. You know, the New World Order is panicking because they have a weak candidate who is senile beyond belief, but they still push him. And so they're going to use every means, every occasion, every method possible to destroy Donald Trump's ability to be reelected. And this is part of that plan.
I believe Donald Trump will be reelected because more people are waking up. I believe whether it's a landslide or not, I don't know about that, but I think it will be more people this time than in 2016. However, let me say something. You mentioned this piece of scum, with all due respect, if there's such a thing, Joe Biden. Biden.
Whoa. You're disrespecting scum now.
Okay. Beneath scum. How's that? Beneath scum.
Better.
Okay. The fact of the matter is that this creature had the unmitigated audacity of an alley cat to tell black people, all right, that if they don't vote for him, they are not black. I'm going, what? And the media has either ignored it or tried to downplay it. But we're putting it out. We're putting it out. When I say we the people, everyday ordinary people, we're putting it out all over social media. So nobody reads their blasted papers any damn way. All right? But, you know, can you imagine racism? What? If you don't vote for me, you're not black? Oh, God. Anyway, we also need to understand that both he and Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama were good friends of whom? Robert Byrd. Who is Robert Byrd other than being a former U.S. senator? He was a Ku Klux Klan leader and recruiter.
Grand Master.
Grand Master of the Klan. So that's what I mean when I say people, we need to know our histories and spread it. No, not just know it for ourselves, spread it to other people. Let people read it and go, oh, that can't be true. But it is true. And if they check it out, they go, oh my God. I was talking to a sister, a black woman in North Carolina the other day on the phone, right? And she was saying, well, she's a Democrat. This is what she said. I'm a Democrat. I said, well, let me give you something to think about, sis. Check this out. You know you're not black, don't you, if you don't vote for Joe Biden? She said, what? I said, well, didn't you hear about that? She said, Biden just lost my vote. You know, and our job is to spread it. And I want people to take heart in the biblical expression, regird our hips. Nobody ever said the struggle was going to be overnight. No struggle was overnight. Not worth having. Okay, this is not a party. And I am not only hopeful, but quite frankly, I know that ultimately, even without casualties, even without damage, we, the people, are going to win. And I'm sorry, I got on a soapbox, and I apologize. Let me shut up.
No worries. That's why you're here, because we want to hear what you have to say, because I think it matters because of who you are and your background, and well, in this case, because of your skin color as well, because you're an example of a human being who has a head on his shoulder that's not swayed by and manipulated by what's in our media. And I think it's important at this point in history that your opinion is shared, like you're saying. So we help people wake up. I fully intend to take this program that we're recording today and send it out to everybody on my mailing list, because I think part of their awakening is, as I'm hoping to help accomplish, is hearing your voice. So don't apologize.
Thank you. I really mean thank you. I'm not saying it perfunctorily. I mean thank you, my brother.
Well, you're welcome, and thank you.
You know, if people want to get a bit more information about me, they can get a book called Saying No to Power. It's called Saying No to Power. It was written by William M. Mandel, Mandel. The foreword was written by none other than Howard Zinn. I happen to be on pages 500 through 504.
That's a long book.
Yeah. So, but use it, pick it, go through it, find what things will be encouraging. But there are a number of books I'm in, but this book, those pages sum up so much from 500 to 504, and there are a couple of other pages I'm on, but that's not the point. The point is people can check out who Larry Pinkney actually is. Okay? And it wasn't written by me. It was written by, I already said, William N. Mandel, Mandel, foreword by none other than the late, great Howard Zinn. So anyway, go ahead, my brother. I'm sorry.
Well, you should be keeping good notes about yourself. We were talking off air about, your upcoming book, which I fully intend to purchase and read.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's. I wanted to get your opinion on what's going on, because it seems in Seattle, and they had a clash with the Black Lives Matter folks. Black Lives Matter folks saying that these kids who took over the 6-block area of Seattle and called it Chaz, the Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone, in their own little country, have hijacked the message of Black Lives Matter. I wanted to get your thoughts on what's going on in Seattle.
Well, I think what's going on in Seattle, number one, is insane. Number two, shows the hypocrisy of not only the mayor of Seattle, but of the governor of the state of Washington. All right? Autonomous zones, take your ass to Cuba. Hell, take your ass to the Communist Party of China. Take your ass to, I can name a number of places. You want autonomy? But if you want to stay here, serve the people as we did in the original Black Panther Party. You serve the people body and soul. You don't take over their homes, their blocks, their businesses. All right? You do what we did. We had breakfast programs, food programs, medical programs, senior citizens programs, you name it. And we were in the community serving the people body and soul. In fact, there's another book that people might want to check out by Alondra Nelson called Body and Soul, the Black Panther Party and the Fight Against Medical Discrimination. But anyway, my point is, so these are a bunch of frauds, a bunch of idiots, nincompoops, and they really don't give a damn about our republic. I do. I have no illusions that our republic is anywhere near perfect. By that way, let me just say this. No republic, no country, no nation that I know of is. But come on. You're going to start pulling down statues. You're going to take over territory? I'm sorry. But being black and indigenous, I find it somewhat hypocritical. And I'm being very nice. So that's my take on the status of Seattle. The status of Seattle.
They don't even have an agenda that kind of aligns with racial inequality or racial equality, and these a bunch of mostly white guys, and their demands are abolition of imprisonment or replacing it with something else. They want to do away with police forces and have something else besides that. And what struck me as really ironic in all of this,
and infantile, my brother. But go ahead, dangerously infantile. Go ahead. Sorry.
Very, but I found it so ironic that they want to disband the police, and this all was supposedly spurred on because of George Floyd's murder.
Yeah, right.
So they want to disband the police and make it all about Black Lives Matter. So they forced the mayor or the city officials to have them empty out the 5th precinct from this neighborhood that they've captured. And the chief of police was unhappy about this. And guess what, folks? She's black. Yeah. Did you hear me? She is black. That's so ironic to me that they would take a black woman, police chief, and get her out of that precinct so that they can protest about black people.
They don't care. The chief of police in Minneapolis, Minnesota is black and part Chicano. Okay? I mean, Arredondo. Okay? But see, this is what I mean. These are dangerous, infantile people. They are extremely dangerous. They think it's a party. They think it's games. They think it's fun. How would you feel if somebody came and took over your house? The very same thing that they protest. Okay? They themselves are doing. All right? They themselves are doing. Antifa, Black Lives Matter. They're two peas in a pot. All right? Antifa stands for, so they say, anti-fascists. Well, let me tell you something. They are not anti-fascists. They are acting as the fascists. And this is the same kind of thing that Adolf Hitler and Benito Mussolini did. The same tactics. Now, how can I use the same tactics and say I oppose those tactics? That's not only absurd and ludicrous, it is utterly hypocritical.
And they're getting cover from the Democrats and the Republicans. The Democrats are supporting them. The Republicans are saying nothing, making them complicit as well.
Well, they are complicit. But you know what? Let's look at this in real terms. Let's look at it in real terms. If I was the Republican, or if I was a Republican, and I'm an independent, though I do support the president, make no mistake about that, but I am an independent, all right? I wouldn't say anything either. I say, okay, y'all gonna burn your communities down, you're gonna allow this, let's see what your constituency has to say 2 or 3 weeks later, okay? When they can't get food, water, when they're being attacked. Do you understand? People are being attacked who live in that community? Oh my God. This is not acceptable. And as flawful, lots of flaws, okay, as the police are, not only in this country, but in every country, okay? It is the stroke of not genius, but the stroke of insanity for people to say, oh, well, it's okay. We're going to turn it over to the gangs. We're going to turn it over to the rappers. We're going to turn it over to... No, what you're doing is playing an egotistical cult of the personality game. And I don't mean you when I say you, but that's what they are doing. And we need to understand that. And quite frankly, I keep saying, more and more and more people are seeing it. At least they're saying this is not acceptable. It is not acceptable.
Absolutely, Larry. But remember, I mean, the plan of the New World Order bunch is that they want the demise of the U.S. Remember Obama carrying this book, The Post-American World, under his arm, prominently showing when he got off a plane or something. They were showing us already that they are planning to take down the U.S.
Right. And we need to be smart enough, wise enough, intelligent enough, thinking enough, critical thinkers to understand it. Obama, I call him the Obamatron, was nothing more than a globalist, deep state, new world order operative. He was and continues to be. But you know what, my brother? You'd be shocked, perhaps, how many even black Americans are waking up to it. Okay? Really? Oh, you'd be shocked. Yeah. I know I was. Rasmussen, which was the takes polls, right? And I'm not into polls. Rasmussen was the only poll back in 2016 that came anywhere near close to being accurate. They said essentially that if Hillary won, it would be Hillary won. It would be very close. But they said, we think that Trump, based on our poll, is going to win. Now, Rasmussen is now saying in their poll is that between 40 to 42% of blacks now support Trump. And it's not about Trump. It's against these hypocritical, jive-time, half-stepping, pimping, parasitic Democrats. All right? That's really what it's about. It's not so much a vote for as it is a vote against. And I'm all for that. I am all for that. Anyway, sorry. It's very passionate to me because go ahead, brother. Go ahead.
It's good that you have passion though, because that's where a change occurs. If you just sit on the couch and watch it happen on your TV and take no action, you have no passion, nothing happens. So it's good that we have passion. I think, you mentioned it about Trump before, and I think it's a good time we start talking about the election, the upcoming election. And, I'm a Trump supporter as well, because I think he's done the very best job that I've seen in my lifetime and about improving the economy, getting us into trade deals that make sense for America, not all the sense in the world, but at least and trying to bring jobs back home. Because
and not taking us into any major war. Hello? Not taking us into any major war. The deep state and the New World Order kept pushing him. And anyway, I'm sorry. Go ahead, brother.
So anyway, he's done very well for the country. And you look at the disparity of audience size when we did have them, of gatherings that would be Democrat contenders, presidential contenders, and Trump's rallies. He'd fill an arena of 15,000 people and have 10,000 more outside that couldn't get in. And so hopefully that support will be there come November. But why are you as a black man supporting Donald Trump, and why are you as an American supporting Donald Trump?
All right, let me be blunt, and I'm glad you asked that question. First of all, I'm supporting President Donald J. Trump as an American. All right, that's numero uno, number one. I'm supporting Donald J. Trump as an American. Secondly, and I'm talking about a distant second, do I support him as a black person? Donald Trump, isn't it interesting how Donald Trump when he was a TV personality, received awards from the NAACP. Did you know that?
I didn't know
He
that.
received, oh yes, he received awards from the NAACP. He received awards from the Rainbow Coalition, Jive Time, Jesse Jackson. All right, you know why? Because he was pushing for blacks to be hired. This is before Trump even thought about running for president. All right? But suddenly, when it became crystal clear that the man had a real shot, what did the deep state New World Order globalists do? Why, they threw out what they always threw out. He's a racist. Well, damn, if he's a racist, what is Joe Biden, that Ku Klux Klan loving bastard? Huh? What is Hillary Clinton, that Ku Klux Klan loving bastard? What is Barack Obama, who brought back slavery? And I'm not talking euphemistically or metaphorically. I'm talking quite literally. Obama brought back slavery by his policies, which still exists today. The slavery of black people being sold on auction blocks in Libya, North Africa. Check me out. See if I'm lying.
Wow.
You see, because when he and Hillary destroyed Gaddafi, whether you like Gaddafi or not is irrelevant. It was a stabilized system, and they knew what would happen. And what has happened now, just as was warned by the Italian prime minister at the time, warned, you can't do this, don't do this. They did it. Okay? Who are the real racists? Let's not even get hung up on that. Throw that out. Let's talk about who the real parasitic political pimps are, okay? And hoes are. Willing hoes. All right? This is what we need to address. And I know my facts. I've done my, and when it became clear back in 2016, when, excuse me, I said 2016. It's before that. In 2012 and prior, people found out that, this Black Panther, this former Black Panther veteran, does not support Barack Obama. Guess what? Well, my speaking engagements went away. All right, that's okay, because my principles are more important than my damn speaking engagements. Why? Liberals and Negroidians, oh, no, you don't support Obama. Okay? Obama had 8 years to address systemic problems. But instead, he ran around mimicking Dr. King and Malcolm and didn't do zip, nada, zilch, zero. So, let's, again, be honest with ourselves. That's all I ask. That's all I demand. I demand it of myself as well. So, anyway, that's what I have to say about that.
Honesty is not in the vocabulary. I'm sorry.
Yeah, Larry, I'm completely on your side. Basically, you said we have to address the real problems, and I think the cabal is now playing the racial card as a new trump card because the Corona scam didn't work out to the degree they anticipated.
Right.
So I think that what is really at stake is the self-determination of the soul of our individual soul, and the cabal is trying to for physical and occult captivity. Yellow or white or black or whoever. They want to make slaves out of us and kill us off. And we should put our thoughts to those issues, which are the main issues. And they try to distract us with all that racial, with that racial card and that Corona nonsense. And that is all distracting. But they are attacking our human souls, and we have to go back to spirituality, to the real spiritual heritage that we have, to fight them, because it's a satanic attack. It's a satanic coup, what they try to do right now.
You are absolutely correct, and I'm so glad to hear you use the word spiritual, because people say to me, "Well, Larry, are you religious?" I say, "Well, I'm spiritual, whatever that means," and it means to me that I have a soul. I have something beyond my human existence. And we all have that. And, brother, you're pretty deep there. It's like you're pushing something that our youngsters need to hear. See? When I say our youngsters, I'm talking people in their teens, their 20s, their 30s. They need to hear that. Because think about it. Look at them. They have taken away their very souls. They are satanic. They have taken away. We need to remind them, look, you have souls. You have a being. You have something that's deeper than this materialistic crap. All right? And you're deep, bro. I'm going to just leave it at that.
Yeah, your soul is basically to the whole universe, and your soul is expanding to eternity. That is your soul. That is your cosmic identity, and everybody should address that identity.
That's right. I agree. What more can I say, brother? What more can I say?
Well, spirituality for a lot of people are found through their religions, and you look at what's happening, especially with Christian religion. It's been attacked. Yes. You can gather in mobs of tens of thousands to protest the death of a person, but you cannot go to church and commune with your fellow human being because that's not appropriate anymore.
Well, that's fascism is what it is. It's a deep state 21st century version of fascism. I'm going to say it like it is. And I said earlier in the program that what these pieces of scum are doing, belief scum, but what they're doing would make Goebbels of the Third Reich green with envy. All right? It would. But the problem is that they have is that, you see, they can start a fire, but they can't stop that fire from burning up their homes in San Bernardino. Huh? They can't stop it. Once they start the fire, they cannot, and I'm speaking in metaphorical, euphemistic terms when I said San Bernardino, in case anybody's wondering. But the point is, the fire they start is not the fire they control. And ultimately, we must make sure that fire consumes them.
Well, I always say plant seeds, send off videos of the things that are in our chat room. Send off links to this show or send this show out to your friends, families, and neighbors and plant those seeds. Yes. And someday that seed will germinate. People will call it waking up. Fine, wonderful. We recognize again that we're individuals and we have souls, and just plant this because somewhere, hopefully, that seed will germinate.
That's right. And it will. And a lot sooner than people think. I mean, if you were to talk to me back in 2015 and tell me that people would be as awake as they are in 2020, I would have gone, I don't know. So I'm looking at the longevity, the whole thing, not just today, but yesterday, with a point upon the future. So I'm not sure I'm sad about some of the things I see. All right. But overall, I'm saying all power to the people because I see more and more people are waking up. And I know that CNN, MSNBC, PBS, ABC, they're not going to share that with us. I mean, if you were them, you wouldn't either. Okay. But they're not important. What's important is connecting with each other and telling each other, reminding each other to share, just like you said. Send it out, send it out, send it out, and tell other people, read this, look at this, analyze this, and send it out. That's where we, the people, are going to succeed. We will prevail.
There's this idea in America anyway that it's impolite to talk about politics and religion in public. And I've encountered that a few times here in recent, last year, I guess, since we don't bowl anymore. But encounter that in my conversations with people, and I go, hey, look, that's just to make people silent. It's okay that we express our own opinions, but we can be adult enough to agree to disagree, but at least share our own opinions. But in this culture anymore, if you have to be offended by something, somehow, somewhere, by somebody, otherwise, you're not part of the woke crowd. So you have to be offended that, Black Lives Matter. You have to be offended at the color of your own skin. You have to be a victim offended by somebody somehow. So get over that. It's not polite to talk about religion or politics in public. Get over that and start talking.
Start talking, start yelling it from the rooftops, talking, exchanging, okay, and discussing and debating civilly, discussing and debating, okay. This is all part. What they've done is all part, and by they I mean the deep state, globalist, New World Order scoundrels. What they've done is they have engaged in a continual process of dumbing down the people. Look at these youngsters out here. They've been dumbed down. Ask them who Howard Zinn was. 90% of them couldn't tell you. 90%. Howard who? You mean Howard Cosell? I mean, you understand what I'm saying? They've been so thoroughly dumbed down. Ask them who little Bobby Hutton was, who was murdered at 17. Ask them who Emmett Till was. Emmett Till, T-I-L-L, who was murdered at 14 and tortured and murdered. Ask them, they don't know because they've been dumbed down. Dumbed down. Ask them who the Tuskegee Airmen were. They don't know because they've been dumbed down. And we can't back up. We need to go forward and push harder and harder and harder. And I say this to all and I say black, white, brown, red, and yellow because I believe in the rainbow of humanity. That's what I call it. It is the rainbow of humanity, and I don't give a damn whether they like it. When I say they, I'm talking about the deep state, globalist, New World Order. I could care less that they don't like it. In fact, the more they don't like it, the more I do.
Same here.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, they try to deprive us from our spiritual and godly heritage that we have. We can make this world a paradise, and they try to make this world a hellhole. And do we want them? We don't want that.
You are so correct. I like that. We try to make this world a paradise, going back to, with, and to, and of, and from our spirituality, while those demonic pieces of whatever try to manipulate, use our flaws, use our weaknesses, because we're human. We have flaws and weaknesses, and they try to use that to make this world a hell. You are so correct.
And the human instinct when you meet different people, when you travel and you go to the middle of Africa, or in the middle of Brazil, the middle of India, you correspond with the people. You try to work out situations and you try to help each other. That is a normal human natural behavior. Right. And they have tried to turn and twist that around through our education, so-called education, through our schooling, through all that kind of nonsense that they call civilization. That is all a bunch of nonsense. And we have to come back to our basic instincts, which are human, which are good, and which are friendly to the people next to each other. And we are brothers and sisters,
We've got about 5 minutes left, guys. So okay. I think we should start looking at wrapping up. Michael, why don't you go ahead and give us your closing thoughts, please?
Okay. Well, I think that, to sum it up, basically, we have to think about new modes and visions of living together without any government, that we live in group and people together that have common kind of spiritual aspirations. And I've come across Rudolf Steiner with anthroposophy and the Waldorf schools, which for me is the kind of path which I would like to elaborate on. But overall, mankind, humanity, has to get a hold of their spiritual heritage and get to know about it, because these bastards, the cabal, have made them to forget all these kind of the background, which makes human a human. They want to make us physical robots and slaves, and the Ahriman wants to make us basically slaves without a self-identity, without a human I, and they want to make us collective groupthink kind of beings, which I oppose completely. And that's why I say we have to live like brothers and sisters together. We have to respect each other like we respect ourselves. And on that basic grounds, we can succeed as humanity, as individuals, for the sake of this whole universe, for the sake of this whole spiritual beings, and for the sake of mankind, basically.
Well said, Michael. And that construct of living together that's pretty novel is called the family. It's been under attack here by the globalists for about 50 years, at least in America. But it's called the family. Detlev, your closing thoughts for the week or for the month?
Family also of the spiritual, of people have the same attitude, the same kind of convictions, basically.
If we are human, I think we can all agree that we should be there.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks a lot. And I'm also glad we had Larry on today, because he's confirming something very important, that all lives matter, especially the lives of humans. And we should not get divided by any forces who try to. So it does not matter the color or race or cultural background. What is important is to identify that there's just a few, a dominant insane minority, which is trying to fight us humans. And divide and conquer is their tactics, and also they want to create chaos, because out of the chaos they want to create their new world order. And this is definitely not acceptable on one hand, and it's definitely also not desirable, as all the peoples who are now demonstrating in the streets will personally experience once the new world order would be there. But nevertheless, we don't want the new world order, so we have to reject anything which is heading towards social distancing, because that is exactly going against human nature. And this is absolutely not acceptable. So I'm very glad we had Larry on today, and confirming that he's also seeing that people are waking up, no matter what race or cultural background. That is very, very important. And I can say also for our area here in Switzerland and Germany, people are waking up, and that's the way to go. Matt.
Well, thanks a lot, Detlev, for producing our show. Thanks, Michael, for joining us. I'll go ahead and we'll give Larry the last word here. We'll be back on next month, July 11th, the second Saturday of the month, with another roundtable, hopefully another inspiring guest. Thank you, Larry, for joining us today. We're very honored to spend time with you. I know I've mentioned this before on my show when you've come on, but it's still on my bucket list to have a beer with you at some point. Maybe in 2023. Yeah, maybe in 2023, because there's an eclipse that year, and I'll be in Texas, so it might be just a quick hop, skip, and a jump over to your area, and we can have that beer, and I'll look forward to that.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Yeah, but anyway, thanks everybody for joining us. Please share this information with everybody. Get the information out of our chat room at UNITEDWESTART.org. It's easy to sign in. You can sign in anonymously. Get all those links. Just get those stories out. Plant those seeds, because that's how we're going to win against this new world order. And we'll see you next month. Larry.
All I have to say is thank you. And I have 3 words. Know thyself. Well, maybe that's just 2 words. Know thyself. All right? That's what it's all about. Know thyself. All power to the people. Love you. Send me the link so I can share it.
Okay, we will, Larry. So until next month, folks, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Death to the new world order.
Yeah, thank you very much. Larry, just a last one, which we almost forgot. How can we reach, or how can people reach you?
Oh, if they want to follow me, they can find me on Twitter, believe it or not. Bunch of fascists. But anyway, it's Reality _1. Reality _1. It's the number 1. And check me out there. Okay, reality _1. And also Black Activists, all one word, WG, which stands for WritersGuild.org. That's it.
Yeah, thank you very much. Now, for everybody who wants to listen to the show again, please stay tuned. We will be rebroadcasting after some music, so see you then. Bye-bye.
United we start, fighting for freedom. A group discussion of activists, bloggers, authors, and other leaders in the independent media to inform and educate listeners on various topics. Join us the second Saturday of a month, 10 to 12 a.m. Pacific Time, 18 to 20 hours GMT.
I got a sermon for all y'all slanderers and gossipers. Ha ha. You know what you need to do for me, though? Let me tell you what you need to do for me. Yeah, if you see me going through, man, just pray for me. If I'm lacking up food, man, just pray for me. If there's nothing else to do, man, just pray for me. Don't talk about me, dude, man, just pray for me. If you see me going through, man, just pray for me. If I'm lacking up food, man, just pray for me. Don't take a knife and stare my back when you see me going through. Just hit the prayer sack. Can I count on you pardon when I'm going through a storm? Going through Katrina, would you be like FEMA? Stand with me sticking like cheese on pizza. Help me carry my cross like that dude did Jesus. Homie, I need your life flower, need bees. I can't do this without you, I need you here with me. You're by my side when the things looking ugly. Jacked up, ain't nothing going right for me. With you by my side, I can go through the spine. Don't go together, we can take down the line. Giants fall when both sling a shot on them. Like we in the party when we double team on them. Two homie really is better than one. When the other fall down, the other help the other one. Let's walk together like the Bible say to do. I need you, homie, like you know you need me too. If you see me going through, man, just pray for me. If I'm lacking up food, man, just pray for me. If there's nothing else to do, man, just pray for me. Don't talk about me, dude, man, just pray for me. If you see me going through, man, just pray for me. If I'm lacking up food, man, just pray for me. Don't take a knife and stare my back when you see me going through. Just hit the prayer sack. If I ever fall down and I can't get up, stuck in the mud like a Toyota truck. Don't turn your back, start a gossip club. Run to the Father to pray me out this mud. Prayer is the only thing gonna pull me out of this hell. Not running your mouth. Running your mouth ain't gonna pull me out. Don't give people something to talk about. The Bible says we must cover one another. Cover each other like prayer when we suffer. We need to not stab each other in the back, but have our back when we under attack. Don't care how stupid we get, we must pray. Pray that we both, man, find our way. We must fight for each other's spirit of prayer. Not fighting one alike, Austin and Freier. If you see me going through, man, just pray for me. If I'm lacking up food, man, just pray for me. If there's nothing else to do, man, just pray for me. Don't talk about me, dude, man, just pray for me. If you see me going through, man, just pray for me. If I'm lacking up food, man, just pray for me. Don't take a knife and stare my back when you see me going through. Just hit the prayer sack. If you ever see Brother King David going through something, baby, just know one thing. I just need you to know I need to count on you. Pray for me, man. Don't talk about me, baby. Let's do it. If you see me going through, man, just pray for me. If I'm lacking up food, man, just pray for me. If there's nothing else to do, man, just pray for me. Don't talk about me, dude, man, just pray for me. If you see me going through, man, just pray for me. If I'm lacking up food, man, just pray for me. Don't take a knife and stare my back when you see me going through. Just hit the prayer sack.